In the Wasatch Mountains of Utah, we're just outside Salt Lake City, up in the mountains at Park City, the 2002 Winter Olympic venue. And it is the first of two races this weekend for the four-man bobsleigh competition. Hello everybody, welcome to Park City. Martin Haven alongside me, John Morgan, getting ready for the decider of what looks to be an absolutely titanic battle for gold.
5 different nations in the top 5. Snow conditions here, which happens in Park City, like at the Olympics in 2002. First heat highlights, it was very interesting. Rico Peter, he ended up in 3rd place. He started in the 9th position, won a vortex open for some of these sleds starting in the middle of the pack. They came down fast. The first couple sleds, which included a couple Germans, including the World Cup leader, Francisco Friedrich, they acted like snowplows. They're way back in 9th and 10th. Peter is in a medal position. Here it is, Max Arndt, the World Cup leader. He won last week in Lake Placid. He started a very convenient 7th. He took advantage of it, posted a great start time, 3rd best start. And the guy with the World Cup lead made a mistake in the graveyard section of the track. He's in 2nd. But here's no surprise, Alexander Kasanov. He's never won a gold medal before. He won a silver medal last week in Placid. He was the 8th guy off the top of the track, posted the 5th best start, and rocketed to the bottom. 3 Russians in the top 14, 2 Russians in the top 10. Russians look like they're ready for the rest of the 2016 season as they celebrated their 1st place after the first heat.
1/10 of a second covers the top 3, 2/10 the top 6, and 3/10 the top 10 sleds. It will be all action as we go 20 down to 1 to decide the gold in the first race of the weekend. You can see the US sleds, Nick Cunningham in 8th, Cody Baskew in 9th, equal with Justin Cripps, but the best place is Stephen Holcomb, the hometown hero.
Interesting race with only 1 sled not in the 2nd heat. Kaylee Humphreys and her 4-woman team. But Martin, as we know, the weather conditions here are pretty different from the top of the track to the bottom of the track. Yeah. You and I both know that from the wind gusts we've seen at the start.
You can see here in the area where the sleds are held, wind is swirling around. It actually comes, the side of the big building just out of your shot on the left-hand side is where the track is. It comes straight up the track into the teeth of the athletes as they're getting ready to start. Down in the lower part, not so bad. 20 down to 1, Billy Meyer-Hans, the A team will be off first for Switzerland, followed by fellow 4-man rookie Ivo de Bruyn. And Yun Jung-won of Korea will be 3rd off the hill. Alexander Kazyanov, for the first time in his life, will try and defend a first heat lead to take gold ahead of double and reigning 4-man world champion Max Arndt, with Rico Peter, who lies 3rd in the World Cup standings. So lots to talk about in this first of 2 4-man races this weekend. The A team on the start block. Hannibal, Face, BA, and new boy Kalashnikov, the Russian. And Mad Murdoch will be on the sled tomorrow. He's out there helping. And he's also, incidentally, Murdoch is the athletic coach for Switzerland's other driver, Rico Peter. So Billy Meyer-Hans, 48-year-old World Cup rookie, must be surely the oldest on record, and one of the most enthusiastic athletes you will ever meet.
Well, he does have some distinction in the field. To me, he's the best promoter. No team's got more logos, more organized. They have a booklet out of themselves. And, you know, I think everybody should take a page out of his book on how to raise money and fund yourself in the sport, because everything he has here, he's self-funded. He's not getting any help from the Swiss Federation.
Leading up to the games here in 2002, he was a brakeman for Martin Annum. Just after the games, he started driving. He retired then, and he's a farmer and a businessman, but he's come back to driving now and is on his 1st ever World Cup race.
Just the passion and the gleam in his eyes. You know, the guy loves driving bobsleds. 48 years old, so if you think you're still a little overaged, 40, well, 48's the new 30. Seems like for this guy.
5 men in the team, only 1 is under 30. So Billy Meyerhands, 49.64 for the 18. Well, that's quite a lot slower than the first heat, but the start was getting on for 4/10 slower. So I'm thinking the wind at the top is wreaking havoc here. Our first sled down safely here in Park City. Billy Meyerhands, the 18, Switzerland's second team here, leading the competition, first to take their second run down this Park City track.
Well, the 48-year-old didn't get a good start time, but again, like we mentioned, he wins the promotion award for self-promoting himself, and the A-team. I mean, they've done everything right, and look at the smile. This is what you do when you're 48 years old and know how to market yourself.
Former brakeman for Martin Annan in the Swiss Olympic lineup. Next up is another four-man rookie. Ivo de Bruyn did race in the World Cup in two-man a couple of seasons ago, pre the 2014 games, but he's making his four-man debut here.
Hallelujah, we have the Dutch back, the orange colors. Ivo de Bruyn married a Canadian girl, and his wife's on the North America or Europa Cup tour.
And the man at 2, Ryan Tull, he's also from Calgary. Igor Brink and Dennis Venker, both from the Netherlands. Venker, the brake man, actually brakes for his girlfriend who drives bobsleds as well.
First time we saw him 3-4 years ago, we really thought he'd be the future of Dutch sliding, but the Dutch Federation has only funded them 13,000 euros for the whole tour. They're spending probably $30,000 in the North American leg. They spent most of the year already on the North American Cup, where he's medaled a couple times.
Yeah.
He's got talent. He just needs start time and some equipment. And this is an old Martin Annan sled that competed in the 2002 Olympics here 14 years ago.
We figure this may be the sled that held the start record. 48.87, that's a good run from him.
Yeah, only 2100s. Back from his first heat. Start time 5:01, then 5:11 in this heat. So the start track is showing 1000 slower. They went way up, way farther. Second heat in a row. I think they might figure out how to sharpen their brakes a little bit better.
Yep,
but hey,
get on them earlier.
The Dutch are back, and it's great to see the orange colors here. The Dutch, you know, very, very successful in the, from 2000 on through the 2010 games, but the program has sort of drifted off.
Well, 2 years ago in the two-man competition leading into Sochi, he was out driving the #1 driver Edwin van Kalker with a friend who came to break him, not with one of the Dutch athletes.
There's Ivo de Bruyn, and he gets some funding behind him. The Dutch could come back to where they were pre-2010.
Ivo de Bruyn for the Netherlands, leading the race. Next up is Yoon Jung-won of Korea. This Korean four-man lineup. He's a good two-man driver. He'll get a chance to show that on what is their home track in Whistler next weekend. But first, 2 four-man races here in Park City.
5:06 start the first run. Well, we've seen the first 2 sleds. This should probably be 5:12. Everybody else got a little bit worse. 5:07. Well, that tells me that the other 2 sleds that weren't as strong in the second run as they were in the first run, and the start track isn't affected by the wind gust that we saw up there.
You see a picture on the front of the sled of their coach, Malcolm Lloyd, who died just after the new year. They found out when they arrived in Lake Placid that he had passed. His memorial service is today. The head coach is there, and the rest of them, like everybody else here, is really missing Malcolm Lloyd. Goma, as he was known, one of the legends of this sport.
He was leading this first heat. 2 men in Lake Placid last week, ended up in the medals. What a spiritual moment for everybody in the sport. Everybody was rooting for this guy to win.
48.66, he takes the lead away from the Dutch. Yoon Jung-won of Korea safely down in the four-man, and all their thoughts as ours with Malcolm Lloyd, his wife Jeannie, and their family.
Watch the precision. Now, they didn't get a great start, but watch the precision here. They are not proficient in the four-man yet in the two-man, but look how quickly they're in the sled and down. Remember, watch the back end here of the sled. A little bit of a skid out of curve 1. Now, remember in the first heat, look at this right here. Yeah, that first 2, it's so easy to make a mistake up there, and if you do, friction is an enemy of your time at the bottom, especially where the speeds are slow.
Yeah, 1 and 2, the only slow corners on this track. You accelerate so fast here. There's Ivo Danilevich in the black hat, former driver for the Czech Republic, who's now their driving coach. Martin Haven, John Morgan, trackside in the wind and the snow. We're inside. But the fans packing this Utah Olympic Park, enjoying very close racing. Ugas Zalims of Latvia next up, 17th after the first heat. 100th away from 16th, 2 from the tie for 14th. This is where we get into the really close racing, John.
You know, 6th best start in the front from the Latvians, who I said in the first run. There's 14 Latvians here. 12 of them look like they're, you know, Superman athletes. They're all 6'2". They all look like they're, you know, Supermans, and they get great starts.
487, that was quicker than their first heat. Better load as well. The man at 2 got really hooked up behind the driver in the first run. Much better load, much better speed as a result. Yeah,
you don't expect him way back in this part of the field with these athletes. And he's a very proficient two-man driver. He's medaled in St. Moritz last year. A couple top 5 finishes here and already in the World Cup this year, the 2015-16 season.
But he's rusty. He hasn't driven a 4-man since December in Koenigsegg, Bavaria. They did not race last week, any of them in Lake Placid.
Yeah, all 3 out. Melbartis, the top stud, he's got a bad back. He's missed all of January. Koreans wave on. There's Sanders Persis. He says, oh yeah, but he knows his team should be doing better than that.
Well, he could pick up several places now. Just don't forget, the next 3 sleds are only 200s in front of him.
And he's only 400 slower in the second run than the first run. That's a good sign. Well, that tells you how bad he was in the first run.
Good consistency from the driver, Ugas Zalim. Still a little bit despondent, though, with that run. But it might be enough to move him up 3 or 4 places.
Well, it's all about speed on the bottom part of this track. Watch the head snap here. This is on the exit of 12. Look at the heads and the moving around. That's the transition off the curve. You come off there a little late. There's Zalmans. He's not happy with himself. He's better in the 2-man.
Top of the track at Park City, Utah. John Jackson of Great Britain, the Royal Marine Commando, Special Forces soldier. Along with him for the ride, John Anderson, Ashley Watson, and Judah Simpson. This team, half a second off the lead in 16th place, 100th of a second faster than our current leaders, Ugas Zalims, and 100th behind, a tie for 14th in front of them.
5:02 start in the first run, and 17th best start, but he had great speed on the bottom part of the track, this Jocko as we call him. 5:11 there, so the Koreans were like within their start time of the first heat. This British sled 900ths worse, and that deals with that wind gust up there. You know, the wind can really alter that first 50 meters.
Wind gusting hard at the top of the track. It's pretty cold, pretty vile. They say it's a dry cold here, but with the snow going down your neck, it doesn't feel so dry.
He's 40 hundredths behind.
Yikes. A couple of skids from Jacko as well. I wonder whether the track temperature is going away from the choice of runners they've used.
Well, 38 hundredths now. He had big speed at the bottom. He might get it down to 30, but he was buried from that deficient start time.
He had 138 kilometers an hour in the first heat. 137.1 is still 85 miles an hour.
3 or 4/10 slower. The Latvians were only 400 slower, and the British and the Latvians separated by 100 at the end of heat 1. So he got out-pushed at the top of the track.
Well, we had our 4 sleds here covered by 200ths of a second. Jacko slips out of that group. So Ugas Zalims of Latvia, the leader. Not the greatest hit. The sled was moving before Jacko got to the front handle.
Well, Anderson, the number 2 guy, is a rookie. And, you know, it takes time to be a 4-man proficient team. They get in and get down. Now, this is the graveyard section of the track. This is where you're going to win and lose a medal. Look at it come off. Now, watch as he accelerates. You go uphill. This is why I call it a trip through the graveyard, because you can lose and bury your time right there in that part of the track.
And if you're within 2 or 3 inches of the wall, you're in the thick snow as well. There is Jacko. Behind him is Jonathan Anderson. It is Ugas Zalims, John Jackson, Yun Jong-won, our top 3 after 5 of 20 sleds here in Park City. We have a Russian leading after the first heat, Nikita Zaharov in a tie for 14th place, and he is 1/10 of a second out of a top 10 position. That might be a big ask for the Russian.
Well, 14th best start, 5 flat. So is the wind blowing up there? What's it doing? Are they getting 5 flat start, 508? So they're on 800s worse. And usually you see these 4-man start teams within 100th of each other. And we're seeing some great deficiencies up top from the first to the second heat, and I think it's related to the wind gust, Mark.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the factors that you just can't see, but you certainly will feel as a driver and as a brakeman. 28 years old, former multiple Russian luge champion before he was snaffled away by the bobsleigh team.
This is a very quick track here on the bottom. 85 miles an hour right down here. Look at the hedge. Smooth. Now he goes through the graveyard. He's bringing it back, but
he's 200s ahead of Zalims, the leader after the first heat. He's not going to close that gap, and he drops down to second spot. Zalims leads. 48.75 slide for Zakharov compared to 48.39. Well, they lost 800s at the top. That's 3/10 at the bottom, just in lost velocity, running into the teeth of the wind. So not that bad a drive, but he was giving it away all the way down.
Right side of the screen should be over in the left. Now he's got to go into the washouts curve with a lot of pressure. Here in the graveyard section, it's uphill. Going uphill isn't really good for your speed, and then when you tap the wall or get in a skid like that, it erases more time or adds more time to your time at the bottom.
Well, there's Zakharov offering his congratulations to the Latvians. Looks like one of them's gone off to get the warm jackets. Yeah, he's got the down bag with all their warm weather gear in, and they're going to need it. It's pretty cold, as you can see from our very well wrapped up crowd. Don't think these guys are wearing lots of nice insulating underlayers. No, this is just lycra and skin. That's your lot. Simone Bertazzo of Italy, 18th fastest start, 2/100ths of a second faster than our current leader in the first heat.
Well, Simone gives up a lot of time at the start, but boy, did he fly in the bottom part of the track. That's when we noticed that you can attain great speed. You get the deficient start time like he just got. Now he's way off the pace.
He was 48/100ths slower than Zalims at the start. Zalims started 4:87, he started 5:19.
And there's no way that he can eat into this deficiency. These are weird times up there, and I gotta believe that I think the wind is playing havoc up there with this competition. He's 50-50, he stopped the bleeding, but he's gonna need another 1,000 meters. He's only got 200 meters left.
Yeah, half a second back, no way of catching Zalims. Zalims will lead, and Simone Bertazzo will be lucky to stay in the top 3. 4th place at the line, behind John Jackson, Nikita Zakharov, and Ugis Zalims. And there's no question, the start area is a lottery. This is like in ski jumping, you know, they have the flag, and the coach drops it when the wind drops. They need that now from their coaches at the top to try and give them a chance. But they only have 60 seconds from setting the sled on the ice to breaking the start beam. Can't hang around all day.
Let's look for the wind. The snow's coming straight down here. We don't see it gusting, but they were 1,500 slower at the start than they were in the first run. Something going on.
Hard to tell from that head-on shot because the wind is coming from behind the camera straight down to the team. Ugis Zalims of Latvia, our leader. First of our German sleds in 13th spot, Nico Walter. Martin Haven, John Morgan trackside at Park City, Utah, as Nico Walter and his team from 13th in the first heat, aim for the top 10, 2/10 of a second away from them.
Look how quickly they went. They were so ready for that green light. They want to get down because they know there's some suspect things going on up there in that first 50 meters with those wind gusts. 5:02, so there's some consistency from the first heat. 5 flat, so that's what you expect out of this guy, but he went second. And I think he was a snowplow. I really do.
Yeah, this 25-year-old has not been off the podium in the 4-man competition until Lake Placid. He's had a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd on the German tracks.
11 down to 10. He needs to be perfect here, or he's going to fall by the Latvian, who beat him by 1,500s in the first 50 meters at the start.
Now, bear in mind, this is not for anything in the top 10. This is just hold on to 13th place.
This is not going to do it. It's going to be single digits. He's going to lose out. He got beat at the start.
And Zalims does hold the lead, 48.65, 3/10 slower than his first heat.
And this is a guy third in the World Cup, fourth in the World Cup standings. He's going to fall a couple places more. And I say his nemesis was he drew number 2 in the start, which is usually the advantage.
He's never raced on these North American tracks, crashed in Lake Placid last week, and he told us yesterday that is his first and only ever bobsled crash.
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. But he was also a world-class loser, but still never got over to compete. But very disappointing result not to be in the, we could be in the top 10 before we're done. Look at the snow up there. Look at the snow. You know,
and look at it bouncing off the ice. It's blowing in hard, isn't it?
That gate right there tells you how frustrated he is. Look, there's the German doctor saying, hey, Nico, look.
Yeah.
He got beat up by the draw. Look.
Yeah, it's the weather, and that's one of the joys of an outdoor sport, I'm afraid. Next up is the man who was the World Cup leader after winning the first 2 races of the season, right up until Lake Placid last week. See the official on the right there holding the sled. As
watch how quickly, when he puts his hand down, watch how quickly they go there.
Yeah. Strip and go.
494 start in the first run. I got to believe there's our leaders with the awesome start, 487. Look how quickly they set up and went. You know, that's the coaching. Start speed. Check this out. They have to get in, get down. Cat-like movements. Look at numbers. Look at that gust just come in there. Look at that. They're almost a kilometer down to the German
teams started 13th and 14th in the field in the first.
And this is one of the best starting teams in the world here. They have Candy Bauer in the back, just returned to action. And Friedrich, you know, he won the first 5 races of the year. And since then, he's fallen off and drew number 1 in this race. But look, he's got red and green numbers. Oh, he's got a bad skid there, and he had the same problem with the first run of that Wasatch curve. Too high, too much pressure. This could be right to the 100th of a second.
Ooh, he was ahead of Zalims by 1100ths in the first heat. This is not a good as drive as the Latvian. He's dropped behind and will go further back.
This is a bad day for the Germans.
Wow.
Look at the Latvians.
Well, look,
Christoph.
This group of sleds was so close. The Latvians are riding on the crest of a wave at the moment. They may have got the weather window that they needed.
Well, he was responsible for that, you know, with a couple hundredths he lost by. He got beat at the start convincingly by 600ths by the Latvian, but that skid down on the Albert's Alley, I mean, the start here, I mean, look at the size of the guy in the back, 118 kilos, 250 pounds.
Yep.
Watch him get in, get down. Watch, look at the gust of wind coming in right there. I'm telling you, the wind, the weather is playing havoc here. Now, this is his driver error. Drifts way to the right, and when he comes way to the right, he's got to get right into the next curve. A lot of steering in Wasatch. That's where he lost his placing in that mistake right there. Not happy.
Frown on the face of Francesco Friedrich. Normally, it's a beaming grin. Ugi Zalims of Latvia leads with 11 sleds to go. This is Chris Spring of Canada, second 4-man race of the season. Didn't race 4-man in Europe. There weren't enough healthy athletes. Cameron Stones, Josh Kirkpatrick, and they're joined by Sam Giguère, back from the CFL Canadian Football Leagues. Giguère was a brakeman before the 2014 Sochi Games.
Let's watch for the wind gust. Do we see any? Nope, down, great start, but they're 10 hundredths behind the Latvians at the start. Going to see red numbers here pretty quick. He's already at 0, red, ooh, here comes the red.
Well, they had a good start in the first heat. Spring had a decent drive as well.
Ooh, that's not bad.
4-man race of the season.
Now, that was really good. He was a deficiency of 10
Tied
hundredths.
for the lead. Nothing in it, 100th of a second, tiny skid.
Good lines there.
And out of Wasatch, these 2 corners come at you fast and no mistakes. 300s back, this could go either way, John.
Well, the Canadian sleds weren't very good in the bottom part of the track in the first heat, and I think we're going to see it again. He's going to fall back at least 1 spot.
They lost 2 without mistakes. 48.64 slides. How close it is.
700 separating 3 sleds. We're going to see that for the top 3 sleds. It's going to be, this track's persona is ties and close racing.
Spring there looking at the time, a bit perplexed.
Well, he didn't have the start. Look at the start. He's 10 hundredths behind the Latvians at the top of the track.
But
and watch this line into curve 4. Watch how much, this looks pretty, so look at the gusto, look at the wind come in right there. You know, there's a lot of exposure up here, and don't think hundredths of a second the wind coming in doesn't affect the sled, even though it's a 1,300-pound vehicle. And down here in the graveyard, I mean, this tap doesn't help.
Well, he was in contention right to the last 3 corners when the speeds were really high, and that's exactly what happened to both Canadian sleds in the first heat. They lost speed. Uge Salim's lead, 10 to go now in Salt Lake City as we go 10-1 to decide the medals. Hurry up offense, no break after the top 10 here in Park City, Martin Haven, John Morgan trackside, watching Cody Bascu of the USA, tied 9th after the first heat, looking for a top 10 finish in what is his second World Cup race of the season. The 20-year-old from Whitehall, New York, 15th last week on his home ice in Lake Placid, looking to go 5 better here.
Yeah, for a team that's a couple rookies on here, they did pretty good. 8th best start, 492. Let's see if they can match. Ooh, they looked a little rough getting in there. 508. Wait a minute. They went 492 in the first run. They went 508 there. There's something happened there.
It's only the first race together for these 4, and that's the skid 2-3 that he had in the first heat as well.
You don't ever see teams go 1600s unless there's a mishap. We saw some rough entry into the sled. I wonder if that altered it, or was there a big gust of wind up there?
Just as likely.
2600s. Now he's going to fight to not to drop 4 or 5 places here.
This is really tough on the athletes. The driver makes no mistakes down the track, and yet that wind at the top basically stops you in your tracks. 3 tenths back.
He's buried. He got buried in the first 50 meters. Lines here.
5th place, and actually probably a better drive than his first.
How can that be? 10th best time of the run.
Yeah.
That is shocking. He went 9, almost 8 tenths slower, 7 tenths slower. And the start might be the nemesis, because they were 1,500 slower at the start. Yep. 1,500 slower at the start, 4,500 at the bottom.
Well, they started 8th fast in the first heat, but they're running into the wind. They're only 6th quickest at the moment. We've still got some of our fastest starting teams to go. It wasn't the greatest load. Watch
them get in here. Watch how smooth or rough this is. Yeah, so that number 3 guy, look at, they're still not settled as he gets into the first curve. That's not bad there. Boy, I don't know where there was 1,500s there, but look at this. Look at the back end. Now watch how the sled has to steer under this curve, and it taps on the take-on. A lot of steering, a lot of friction at low speed. Not a good run for Cody.
Same skid as we saw in the first heat from him early in the run. Justin Cripps of Canada was tied for 9th with the American. Uge Zalims of Latvia still the leader. Just to remind you, Zalims in the first heat was only in 17th place.
6th best time in the start in the first run, 491. So, I mean, anything can happen up here. I get 492. Now, how do they do that? How do they get within 100? And the first thing he does is tap the wall out of curve 1.
I guess they were lucky with no wind in their faces.
Zalims has moved up 6 places.
Yeah, Zalims is having a really good run at the moment.
Real good.
Cripps looking smart though.
2000s, that's a lot of time to throw away in this track.
Yeah, but don't forget that sled gave away speed at the bottom.
Yeah, you're right. 2300s accelerating away. Great line into Wasatch. Speed on the bottom of the Canadian athlete who won a bronze medal last week, his first ever bronze in the 4-man competition. And this looks like he will be the leader. Good speed, good exit to the graveyard. 135 speed is not the best, but
it's enough.
846. So that's
well, that means that Uge Zalims has moved up from 16th to guaranteed no worse than 10th as Cripps leads with 8 to come.
Boy, Martin, this is a pretty predictable sport, but I think we're sitting here watching an unpredictable platform here. It's hard for us to see from one sled to the other. And watch this. Now watch the heads. Watch the take on here. He gets in here too late. Now watch the head. Look how high he gets above the line there. That's not on the Olympic curve. And watch this exit. He's fighting. Then he taps before he gets on a 12. And he's fighting on this curve. And this is only at 85 miles an hour. But, you know, the guy we call the international man of mystery, not a bad result on the bottom.
It's a bit of a smile from Cripps. On target for his 3rd top 10 finish of the season. As you say, bronze last weekend. And it'll be his 4th. Next up, Nick Cunningham from the USA. Third fastest start for this team. Casey Wickline, James Reed, and Sam Mitchener with Cunningham.
I think Casey's got some family in town. I saw him out eating one of the restaurants. But great start, but he lost it all with a hard bang out of curve 1 and a skid down in 2. So if he can overcome that, he might improve. They had a 489 start. So I usually predict something. I'm not going to predict anything here.
A lot of noise at the top of the track for the US sleds, and not just from the wind.
And down forward.
Good load. 504. Again
the US, both US sleds have lost 1,500s. Something going on there. This is the US home track.
Oh,
look at that skid.
Same hit, 3 to 4.
I'm perplexed. 30, he's going to drop 40, 50. Remember, the other American sled had the 10th best time of the run and dropped like 8 places.
Yeah.
He dropped behind the Swiss sled.
Cody Basque dropped 5 spots, and Nick Cunningham has already dropped 6 positions from his first run advantage.
I'd say he dropped behind the Swiss sled. He did 4,200. You know, this is good line.
6th position at the moment on the splits with 7 to come. Do the math yourself. That's going to leave him outside the top 12.
9th best time. So one American sled comes down the 10th best time of the run with a 1,500 slower start time. This American sled comes down with the 9th best time of the run with a 1,500 slower start time.
Yeah.
Who do we ask? What's going on?
Well, top 2 at the moment. Justin Cripps, the leader, 2nd fastest start. Uge Zalim's in 2nd place with the fastest start of the competition so far.
And this didn't help his efforts, but the start was really the nemesis. Yeah. This was the second problem he had, and it just, you can't do that. And then look at the way the night train comes off this curve here, and that wasn't smooth. Didn't have 2 good heats down the track, and I think Nick Cunningham doesn't want to talk to anybody, and he will go right to the holding move.
That was the team that started 3rd fastest in Heat 1. This is the team that started 2nd fastest in Heat 1. Great Britain's Lamin Dean, John Baines, Joel Fearon, Andy Matthews, the A team for Great Britain. And this Grenadier Guardsman, whose day job is guarding the Queen, is now going to try and guard 7th position. He is 100th out of a top 6 finish. The medals are 12/100ths of a second away. If they get a lull in the wind, anything is possible.
He had a very rough run in Heat 1, but a 488 start in the first heat. And look at the gust of wind up there. So we just saw the American sled. Oh, look how far that guy ran.
Yep.
506, same thing. Yep. He's 1,600 slower. He's buried.
And when the brakeman is up, stood on the bell like that with a crosswind, it's just dragging speed out of the sled.
You know, this is a winter sport. And winter does affect the competition. But this is weird. It could be anybody's podium position tonight. He's 3/10 down. He's going to drop 8 places, 6 places.
Yeah, he will drop 5, same as Cunningham, same as Basque.
I bet you there's a few coaches up there who are going to file a protest. Ooh, look at how rough he was in 12 to 13 into that finish curve. Oh, wow, that was rough.
Can't find a protest. Everybody's getting hit by the wind except for maybe 1 or 2.
He sleds.
Drops to 4th place.
Time. Look at 9th best time. I mean, that's the only sled. Cripps wasn't bad. Yeah. Zalmas was unbelievable. Oh, Zalmas has got the best time of the run in the start and the finish, and he went like 10 sleds ago.
Well, I don't think the track surface is deteriorating, but maybe the wind is picking up even more than it was before, because everybody starting so far off their first heat is not...
Look how far the guy on the right side runs here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's too many steps.
Oh.
He ran way too far.
Yeah, Joel Fearon lost his cadence.
So let's blame that start deficiency on a guy who ran too far. And then down here, this is 2 for 2. He did the exact same thing into curve 13 to 14.
Yeah.
But the mistake was made. He ran too far. It's not how far you run. It's get in the sled, use gravity, get your start velocity, and move on.
Top 6 covered by 21/100ths of a second. This is Oskars Kybermanis of Latvia, 100th behind Stephen Holcomb. And the medals are 11/100ths away. So 3 sleds covered by a 1/10 of a second, all trying to beat their way into the medals.
Wind coming up, 486 start, the best start in the heat in the first run. 4 more unbelievable athletes from that little small nation in Latvia.
Well,
486, so he's got to get 490 or something, worst case scenario. If he gets 5 flat.
no wind, no snow. 505, 2/10 of a second slower.
That's just, look at the gust there. Look at this, look at it blowing up there.
That's not the athletes. They don't drop off 2/10.
No, you don't
you
drop
or
off.
I would, they don't.
Well, both American teams are 1,500 slower. This Latvian team's almost 2,000 slower. I'm sure there's some, what's it, $200 Swiss franc or $200 euros is the protest?
Our race director is former Olympic medal-winning great woman Val Fleming. She had a pretty good introduction her first ever day as a race director with the women's race.
Yeah,
this is a lot tougher though.
This is up to the FIBT or the IBSF jury to be. Yeah. How many places is he going to fall?
Too late.
10th best time of the run. It's almost like you can look at the Canadians won't take it, but they know that there's some weird stuff going on.
But they also know that they could have run into a gust of wind and they just were lucky not to. That's the way it is. Ugis Zalims, though, in second place from 16th with 5 to go, could end up in the top 6.
And Cripps went 490, 491, 492 in the start. This guy here, 486, and he goes 505.
Yeah.
Where's the gust? Where's the wind?
You can't see wind, and that's the problem. There's the problem for the jury, but they'll be feeling it when they're running into it.
Yeah, this is weird. You know,
think about being on a bicycle, and a gust of wind just slows you down instantly. And they can't do anything about it. And nor can Cripps and Zalims, but our top 2 could end up in the medals easily.
How far has Zalman's moved up? 10th,
16th to second with 5 to go. Stephen Holcomb of the USA, double 4-man world champion, 4-man Olympic champion with Frank Del Duca, Carlo Valdez and Sam McGuffey on the hurry-up, no-call offense, 5:15.
They're buried, they have no chance.
They'll be lucky to have a top 10 finish off a start like that, and that is, again, 1,800 slower than their first heat, and that is not the men, that is the women.
I wouldn't be surprised if they cancel this heat. I mean, I've seen a lot of strange things in the sport, but when you don't have a fair competition, you know, and these guys that are coming down now, Holcomb's 6/10, he's going to have the 10th best time or worse of the heat.
With 4 sleds remaining, it's going to be very tough now to say, well, I think we might call it off now.
Holcomb is going to get beat. He's going to finish 12th or 13th.
He is 11th on the split times with 4 to go, and he finishes a 12th position.
15th best time of the run. And
okay, it is inconceivable now that anybody is going to improve their position in the remaining 4 sleds unless they get a miraculous break in the weather.
This is every sled down. Yeah, every sled down gets worse. It's, you know, it's winter sport, but here, you know, is there any mistake by Holcomb? Did somebody run too far? Down? I mean,
down. It's
and
clean.
What's the time? I mean, 5:15 in the first run. He had a 93, so he's 200 slower at the start.
Yeah,
that's a joke. I think we just heard it from our Olympic champion.
Yeah. Well, if the jury are thinking about making a decision, they need to make it soon.
I think that the jury is already probably on the radio with each other. Look at Pierre Lueders up here saying, come on, come on, come on, let's go. Stolnev here. Now watch Stolnev, well, all things being equal, he had a 492 start, means he's probably going to get a 512 start.
Don't forget, there is a Russian leading after the first heat. Pierre Lueders wants these guys to go quickly, but he wouldn't mind if the race was called off. Justin Cripps on the left is your leader.
So he went 492 in the first run. Holcomb just was 2,200 slower. So he's going to be, look how quickly they were down and in the sled.
No, long haul before Max Belugin got in.
I think that Lueders told them to run 2 steps less and get in the sled quickly. And they had a 508 start, which is 1,600s worse, and I can't see him being the leader at the bottom.
In the red already, 2/10 back, you're never going to drive that back in such a short track. And it does look as though the jury have got a very major decision on their hands.
So he's going to fall 5 places right now, at this pace.
I'm slightly surprised that we saw the Russian coach, Pierre Luders, at the top of the track.
If they show us the replay of Pierre Luders right now, he's running right to the jury.
Oh, horrible mistake by Stulnev. It was all lost anyway, but that's going to put another nail in the coffin. Cripps, what can you do?
Look, 11th best time of the run. I mean, one man's trash is another man's treasure here, and the treasure right now is for Justin Cripps.
And Ugis Zalims, who was 16th in the first heat, lies second with 3 to go.
I don't know about this leaderboard. I don't know much there's going to be much change here.
Well, listen, nobody who has come down with anything approaching a top 10 tie.
Now, this is late. He was late in the first heat, and this time it really hit hard and cost him. But he was, 1,500. What was he? 1,500 slower at the start. You don't do that in this sport. You got 1 or 2 or 300s difference.
Well, that driving error would have cost him his position anyway, but the wind is doing a great deal more. Rico Peter, 3rd place, bronze medal already this season in Koenigsegg, Bavaria. And, well, the wind is blustering around. The snow is there as well. Simon Friedli, behind him Thomas Amrein and Fabio Badraun. And Rico and everybody else now must be just sort of accepting their fate. If you get blown by the wind, you do.
4th, 3rd, 5th, and 5th in the first 4 events of the year. And look, see, they get it on and see what they got. 498. Now, see, they stayed within reason. 600s is within reason of a first to second heat start.
And that means they have not been wind affected, which suddenly means that Justin Cripps might be in trouble.
300s, this could be equal to the next clock. He's got a chance here. Good drive here. He's got a chance to maintain a lead in a bronze medal.
Rico Peter was 1900s in front of Cripps. He's only got 400s in the bank.
3 to 4 though. This could be 600s here.
Gaps come down.
There's 6. If he's straight, he'll be the first person to overcome the weather, and he'll medal. Watch him duck his head.
600ths of a second in the lead.
Duck his head
and takes it away.
Well, so there's reason. There's some reasonability of the sport of bobsledding.
Well, Rico Peter's not the only one who remembered how to drive in the last hour, but they got the gap in the weather.
But he was only 600s down at the start. Everybody else is 15, 2200s from some. Holcomb was 15. So another medal for the Rico Peter.
He leads with 2 to go. Well, this is gone from being a race into a lottery. This is a crapshoot of epic proportions with the weather.
Look at any gusts, nothing. In, down quickly, proficient Swiss. Now here down in Albert's Alley, this is great lines. I would say, look how low he is in that cowling. Rico, nice bronze medal,
baby. Then. Yeah, all right. Rico Peter stoked with that one as he takes the lead from Justin Cripps. 2 to go, including our reigning double 4-man world champion, Max Arndt, with the young Kevin Corona joining Alex Roedinger and Ben Haber on the team. But again, look at the wind and look at the icy snow bouncing off the surface of the track.
That says it all right there.
Yep.
489. Well, the way things are going, if he gets below 5 seconds, it's a victory.
300ths of a second ahead of Rico Peter. 501, he's in with a shout.
1,200 slower than his first heat. Rico Peter was only 600 slower. But this is probably the best, in my opinion, the best 4-man driver in the world. Look at the gust.
Well, this could give the jury the confidence not to call off
their
the race.
If the top 3 guys in the first heat finish in the top 3 positions, this race will not be called off.
For everyone else, it was a total lottery, but their weather window seems to be opening again.
Yeah, he was 1,200 slower at the start, but he's doing what he does best. He drives as good as anybody.
1,300s, he is building the gap. This looks like a normal race now for these last 2 sleds.
This is the World Cup leader, and he'll stay as the World Cup leader no matter what.
1,800s up, 1,100s quicker than Rico Peter on that run alone. And top speed, 138.9.
Well,
it's the fastest we've seen.
We talk about horse racing. Some people are mutters. I think we're seeing here tonight. Some people don't have it. They don't let the snow run.
Yeah, but in a horse race, not every horse avoids the mud.
Yeah,
it's just your strength. Everybody gets the same conditions.
Take a look at these lines. Look at the gust of wind coming in.
And look at the snow in the track as well.
Look out, look at it. I mean, everything's so perfect. Look at the helmets. Watch a little snap here in the outlet.
It's not perfect, but it's just better than everybody else has had so far.
And that's what he does best. That's why he's won 2 world championships.
Yeah.
That's why he's the World Cup leader as we speak, no matter what happens. Max, how was that?
Okay, 1 to go. And wind and snow and pressure for Alexander Kasyanov of Russia.
Look at Luder's back here on the left. Now watch him dictate to his team. Yeah. Watch how quickly they go.
So Kasyanov has never won a World Cup race before and leads after a great first heat where the weather was not a big factor. Best ever World Cup result for Alexander Kasyanov. Silver medal in Whistler 2013 behind Alexander Zubkov, who went on, of course, to be our 4-man Olympic champion, 495.
He got a silver medal last week in Lake Placid also, and he just looks like it's perfect timing for him to peak at the right part of the year. And with that start, 495, only 500's bad, he's got a huge lead here.
2400. Speed is the same as we saw from Max Arndt. Can Kasyanov hold on, or will
this looks
flake
like
under pressure?
Now this
little skid.
Now this is too much time in the bank. He's going to be the gold medalist here unless. Now this is a gold.
138 at the bottom from Max Arndt. The gap is coming down.
Only a skid here.
138 from Arndt. He's not quite there. He's got enough to take it. It's victory for the first time in his life for Alexander Kasyanov of Russia. The last Russian to win a 4-man race was the Olympic gold medalist, and now Alexander Kasyanov, his understudy, takes his first ever World Cup gold, and look how delighted he is.
About time for this guy. The Russians didn't have a very good month of December, but obviously they want to peak late in the year. Silver last week in Lake Placid, gold medal here in Salt Lake and Park City, and it's obvious it turned out to be a fair race.
The Germans know what it means. They're first to congratulate him, and Kasyanov, his first win. There you go, Russia back on top. Ilva is thrilled with that. Alexei Pushkarev and Alexei Zaitsev joining the crew in the last couple of weeks. And Russia, there's Max Arndt offering his congratulations. Arndt.
Kasanov's been toiling. He finished 4th in both events in Sochi. Everybody's been waiting for him to take over as the #1 Russian. I think tonight speaks for itself.
Kasyanov loving the passion of his team. And why wouldn't he?
Look at Sergei, he's crying. Look at the coach, he's crying.
Why wouldn't he be? It's a huge moment for Alexander Kasyanov of Russia. He takes his first win, the first win in 4-man bobsled competition for any Russian driver since 2014, February in Sochi. The drought is broken, and Kasyanov, the understudy, is now the star of Russian bobsledding.
Well, he did it all. You know, he overcame the hassle at the start. And he's one of the guys that led the first heat, led the second heat. You know, everything he did here was gold medal performance.
Well, what a North American leg he is having. Second in Lake Placid 6 days ago. He now wins his first race here in Park City. Kasyanov by 400s from Max Arndt. Rico Pater takes the bronze just ahead of Justin Cripps. Ugis Salim's 16th to 5th, and Alexei Stulnev in 6th position. For the rest of them, toss the numbers in the air and see how they come down in the wind and the snow. It was a lottery, but Kasyanov, the Russian, claims the victory. Well, the winds, the snow played their part in no uncertain terms. Stephen Holcomb saying it's a joke. Unfortunately, sometimes the weather is not your friend, and Holke has run into enough snowstorms in his time to be sure that eventually, somewhere, somehow, he's got a benefit from this. It's like the driver that says when you run into a caution and you're leading and the gap closes, eventually it's got to go your way. Holcomb, the weather never really seems to. Well, the crowd filing down to the big area at the bottom of the track, inside the finish corner and turn 15, where the presentations will be in the next few minutes. This is the top start area, where the teams will be packing up their bags and putting on as much warm clothing as they can. It's about -5, -6 already, and the wind is making it feel a lot colder. Catering down there, the food trucks, food and drinks, big star screen as well, so they can watch all the action. You can see there on those tall poles, the aerial walkway. Some brave souls, I'm not sure I'd be up there in this wind and snow. I don't bounce the way I used to. There's been a good crowd on hand here at the Utah Olympic Park. This 2002 Winter Olympic venue, the 19th Winter Olympiad, has produced, well, in the first heat, a really tight race, and in the second, one that was tough to call. You really had no idea until the final 3 sleds who was going to end up on the podium. The big winner today, Ukis Zalims of Latvia, 16th in Heat 1. Top 5 finish, his best ever World Cup result in 4-man by some margin, I think. Snowy Park City, Utah. Max Arndt, our World Cup points leader from Francesco Frugic and Rico Peter. That much has not changed, but a first ever World Cup 4-man win moves Alexander Kasyanov right up to 4th position ahead of Nico Walter. Alexei Stulnev also had a good finish here, and he remains in the top half dozen. So a topsy-turvy race, and the weather certainly having plenty to say about it. And Kasyanov, what pressure. He's seen so many stumble and fall in the wind and the snow. He and his team just put their nose to the grindstone and ground it out. And a good drive under real pressure. Finally, at 32 years of age, to claim his first World Cup win. For most of his career, he's been in the shadow of his illustrious Olympic champion teammate Alexander Zubkov. But now it's Alexander Kasyanov, who is Russia's newest race winner. Congratulations to him. With Ilva Hutsin, Alexei Pushkarev and Alexei Zaitsev, a first win in World Cup 4-man bobsled racing. Max Arndt and his team, the very first there to congratulate their rivals. They know how that feels. So on the right, Rico Peter and his team from Switzerland. Another 3rd position, another medal for them. On the left in the yellow jackets, Max Arndt and his crew. Team Arndt leading the World Cup rankings still. A big thumbs up for our race winner, Alexander Kasyanov, and the team from Russia. So there are your podium finishers. And just to remind you, this is only the first of our 2 4-man races this weekend here in Park City. They will go at it again tomorrow. What will the weather have in store for us? We have another 4-man race and men and women's skeleton on the card. Join us for all the action. On behalf of John Morgan, the whole IBSF TV crew here, I'm Martin Hayden saying thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for more from Park City, Utah.